Hey everyone, so welcome to day 2 of Mageblood from scratch. I must say today was a great day. We've gone from basically walking yesterday to we're now running. My build has gotten a lot stronger. We've gotten substantially faster than the previous day, and our money is starting to roll in and we're starting to make quite a lot of it. So why don't we start off by going over the gear changes for today. So I am now playing Savior Paradoxica. This was fairly easy to swap into. I believe Savior was 50 chaos, and then this Paradoxica specifically was 40. What we were looking for on Paradoxica was to get a physical and impale prefix, since the prefix is always going to be physical plus something. There's like blind and poison and bleed, but I wanted impale. And then for the suffix, there were a few that were good for my builds, and our choice was either crit multi, attack speed and blood rage, or crit chance, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't end up picking crit chance because of the Ascendancy points we ended up picking later, but I ended up getting a multi one. The reason I got this is because most of the things I'm going to be fighting today and tomorrow are mostly rare mobs, specifically essence monsters, and that's where I need all of my damage increase. So I don't really care that I don't have the crit multi against blue and white enemies. Those die pretty instantly anyway, and having multi for a rare or unique enemy is more than good enough. Realistically, this is where any of my stats realistically matter. And I'm happy with this. This is pretty much one of the best Paradoxicas I could get for my build. I would have preferred potentially maybe a blood rage one, so I didn't have to cast blood rage on my own, but that's okay. It is what it is. And then for the Savior, it's nothing too special. I basically kind of tried buying the cheapest one. I also tried looking for a decent roll. The PDPS on Savior doesn't really matter too much, as the math when it comes out, Savior could be a 1 PDPS weapon and it would still be best in slot. The damage that Savior does isn't really too important. This is why we mostly care about Paradoxica, because Savior effectively makes Paradoxica do quadruple damage. If you don't know what this sword does, the special roll on it, the level 20 reflection when equipped, is all we care about. What this does is when I crit with a skill, I summon a reflection, and I can have 2 of these. And those reflections essentially copy my character. So they'll copy every single stat I have. They'll copy my gear, they'll copy my gems, they'll copy my tree. They basically are you. The only downside is they only do half your damage. But since you have 2 of them, that effectively means that both of them together do as much damage as you do. And what they do is they just attack with whatever ability you trigger the reflection with. So if I crit with Cyclone, that means they're gonna just be cycloning around. Funny enough, that means if I crit with Leap Slam, I'll be creating Leap Slam reflections. But the nice thing is, you can override them very quickly. So even if I do Leap Slam onto a pack and crit and I make a Leap Slam reflection, it just immediately gets overridden by a Cyclone one. So it's not really that big of a deal or a problem. And because of this, because they use your abilities and because they copy off your stats, you want a really strong main-handed weapon, essentially. And because of that, Paradoxica is effectively the best in slot sword for this build. There are a few swords that could potentially beat this sword, but the problem is those swords cost, if there's even one available on the server, mirrors. This Paradoxica is essentially worth over 1,000 PDPS, give or take. So this is a very strong one-hander when combined with Savior. The reason for that is because Paradoxica always deals double damage. So the 55 to 218 is actually 110 to 400. And then with its attack per second and its crit chance, this is effectively a 500 PDPS weapon or so. And then since Savior effectively doubles it, this becomes a 1000 PDPS weapon, which makes this combo really strong. One more thing to say about the reflections is they're effectively extremely aggressive minions. I'm going to do a quick map showcase at the end of this video to show off what my build looks like now. And you'll see the Savior minions will basically be running all over the place, running extremely quickly and being super aggressive. One nice thing is the 30% less movement speed on Cyclone doesn't actually apply to them. So when you watch them cyclone around, they're extremely fast because they ignore the movement speed penalty, but they do benefit from my increased movement speed. But these things are aggressive and fast. They're really fun to watch, and they copy your microtransactions. Outside of that, to be able to fit Paradoxica, I do need 112 dex. So because of that, I did get a new ring. Now, at the start of today, I put non-channeling on both of my rings. I replaced my Praxis with this ring, I believe yesterday. And I believe I bought this one today, and I put non-channeling on both, which allowed me to not have any mana problems. This one, unfortunately, did not have an open prefix, but it did have mana leech, which actually completely makes up for the fact that it doesn't have non-channeling. And with this mana leech roll, I am good to channel Cyclone, even though it costs 5 mana. And I have no mana problems at all. I was also struggling for resistances, so I bought a new pair of gloves. I do need to get some Eldritch currency, and to roll these gloves quickly for some better stats since proj damage doesn't do anything for me. But these were good enough. They just have high resistance, chaos resistance in life. That was all I needed. And I only had, I believe, a 5 chaos budget for these gloves. So I'm very happy with what I got for 5 chaos. A decent chaos resistance roll and tier 1 life almost maxed out is more than I can ask for. These were my old gloves, so it was a pretty big upgrade going from life and a shitty crafted resistance to these. As well as that, I decided to buy new boots. I didn't need any resistances on these boots since this new ring took care of all my resistances. This had fire resistance on it, I believe, and I harvest crafted it over to cold. So on these boots, I pretty much just looked for one roll movement speed. I wanted very high movement speed. Luckily, these came pre-crafted with Eldritch Currency for another 5% movement speed. So these are very fast zoomers. And I was looking for a little bit of chaos res and life. I'm happy these also have regen on them, since the little bit of regen is actually going to be really nice for an upgrade we're going to make tomorrow. Since I want to do a perma berserk setup with a new pair of gloves that turns your regen into rage generation. So with enough regen, we can have very high rage per second, which allows us to consistently keep up a berserk. So I'm happy that I have a little bit of life regen on here. And the fractured life, although it's not very good, it's tier 2 bottom rolled fractured life, it's still nice if I ever want to recraft these boots later, which I don't really think I would. I believe these costed me 30 chaos, and for 30 chaos they're not bad. I ended up doing my Uber Lab, and when I did Uber Lab, I actually ended up getting movement speed if you haven't been hit recently, so I'm very happy with how these turned out. And these were my old boots for comparison. They had very, very poor movement speed on them, a bit of life and some regen. I believe I just literally picked these off of the ground while I was doing Blue Aqueduct farming. I'm like, those are a good pair of boots, and just put them on. I'm happy with that upgrade as well. One other thing to mention is I did run around with a foiled Terminus S for the beginning of today. Late last night, the $500 supporter pack keys were released and people started opening them, and someone created a purple Terminus S, which I really, really wanted. This was about a 1% DPS upgrade over my old Terminus S, but I did downgrade my Cyclone by 1 level to make up for the difference. I hope people don't mind. Purple is just my favorite color, and I really wanted to use this for at least half a day. It was worth it to me, although it kind of bricked Path of Building because it doesn't like the new foiled items. The other upgrade I made for today, which probably don't notice immediately, is Flasks. Flasks are amazing. These increase my movement speed so much, and they've increased my damage by quite a bit. So on all of these flasks, I got the chance to gain a flash charge when you deal a crit prefix. Because I'm critting pretty often, and now we're speccing over into crit, I have a fairly high crit chance, and the delay on these were changed 2 seasons ago, if I'm not mistaken. It is now a 0.1 millisecond delay on the flash charge generation. So with Cyclone attacking super fast, we're basically consistently gaining a charge every second, and we could potentially be gaining up to 10 charges a second. Because of this, I basically have permanent flask uptime in most cases, and this allows me to have flask uptime on bosses. I decided to get Quicksilver and Onslaught. Onslaught obviously for more movement speed and for attack speed, being very good with my build. And then we got Diamond since we're starting to go crits, and a Granite because we are running Molten Shell and because we have Determination. As for suffixes, I got attack speed, since attack speed scales my build very well. Again, I have another attack speed roll here. I kind of ran out of money, so I basically just bought whatever Granite Flask and it just ended up having an attack speed roll on it too. And then we have immunity to freeze and chill during effect, which is kind of nice. This gives me my chill immunity and my freeze immunity, as I can kind of keep up the 3-second flask. I would eventually like to replace this for something else, but for now this works and it's good enough. And obviously some more movement speed. With all these changes, I'm actually pretty fast, which is nice. If you compare my movement speed to what it was before, I was extremely slow, and I'm happy that I'm not a snail, basically, when even just like running around like this. With all my flasks up, I'm actually, I would say, decently fast. Like this isn't the fastest, but it's more than good enough. And I'm happy with what it is now. As for the tree, I did make a few changes here. Corrupted Blood was starting to become a pain in the ass, so I did buy a Corrupted Blood jewel. There was a much nicer one I wanted, but I unfortunately just couldn't get it. So we just settled with the fire resistance armor, a little bit of fizz damage with swords. I could eventually put this into a Stygian as well, or find a better upgrade, but for 1C, this is good enough. For the rest of my tree, since we swapped over from 2-handed to 1-handed, I dropped Wrecking Ball, I dropped Harpooner, and instead I picked up Blade of Cunning and Ambidextry, and then I swapped out my Mark Mastery from the increased effect to Frenzy Charge on hit, since we are losing our Frenzy Charge generation from Terminus Est. This, for the most part, should completely take care of my Frenzy Charge generation, so it shouldn't really be a problem. I know some people asked, so I will leave a path of building of my character for today in the description below if you want to look at it after this video is over. One more thing to mention, I also did my Uber Lab and we ended up picking Overwhelm. So the reason for this is the base crit chance on Paradoxica is only 6.5 and on Savior is only 5.5, which is very low. Because of that, Overwhelm is on average 15% increased DPS, which is really, really nice. And the reason I didn't go over with Bane of Legends is because Bane of Legends is only a 20% DPS increase against unique enemies specifically. Since my goal for the next few days is going to be essence farming and then eventually do blight farming, most of the monsters I'm going to be fighting are not unique monsters. So 20% damage isn't doing much for me. This is effectively only worth 10% more damage if we killed recently, which should always be true. Because of that, this was just 15% increased DPS versus 10% increased DPS. On top of that, it's going to allow me to scale my crit faster, and it's just going to overall do better with these two swords. There might be a point where I have so many crit chance in the future that dropping Overwhelm for Bane of Legends is going to make sense. But for now, that is not the case, so we're going to be sticking with Overwhelm. Let's talk about what we did for mapping today. So today started a little bit slow. I was kind of a snail, as I mentioned. I didn't have Flask. I didn't have anything. I was basically playing with a Granite and a Life Flask the whole time. It was kind of shitty. And we slowly waddled our way through progression. I decided to slowly do maps. And I believe where I ended up yesterday was like over here or over here in terms of points. I only did a few maps. Actually, I think if I'm not mistaken, I had Shaping the Mountains, but I ended up picking Shaping the Skies, and then I kept pathing this way, and I immediately rushed Valleys and Seas. I didn't pick up anything else. As soon as I had all 4 points, progressing into yellow and red maps was pretty quick. And I just kept doing maps, eventually going up here and picking up Amplified Energies to get better essences, and then immediately getting Prolific Essence to start getting those essences to show up in my maps. And then I just kept going, picked up Stream of Consciousness so we get more essences, and then got the other 2 essence nodes. So I'm currently a full essence spec. After that, I did a few more maps just because I had a few extra that I haven't done yet for points, and then we started blocking stuff. The reason I'm going to block everything is because extra content does work for essences. So if I block all of these and I block all of these, it's going to give me the highest chance for essences. As this is my current plan to make all my money, is to just keep doing essences. Eventually, by the end of tomorrow, I'm looking to start doing tier 16 and start doing blight farming. So we'll be expanding over here to the left and pick up all the blight nodes. And we'll come up here and pick up these blight nodes too. But for now, we're just doing nothing but essences. If you want to look at my money, I am ending with 90 chaos and just raw money, a little bit of other shit, and most importantly, some essences. I did bulk sell my essences right at the end of my stream, but I did end up getting 2 more Essence of Insanity, which is another 50 chaos, so we're pretty rich. My current strategy is simply just doing mausoleums with Remnants of Corruption. I'm just corrupting all the good essences. For example, I'm corrupting anything that has greed on it, anything that has loathing, anything that has one of the 4 purple essences, and then anything that has rage, since strength essences are going pretty well right now. Other than that, if there's like a big stack of like other blue, green essences or some orange essences that aren't worth much, I do Remnant Corruption in the hopes that it rerolls them into essences that are worth something. And I'm simply just bulk selling on TFT. All of it is being done through the bulk tool. At first, I did a sale of 75%. At the end of my stream today, I did a sale of 80%. Ideally, I'd be selling these at 95 or 90%. But since I have so little in essences, I'm hoping that a substantially lower price is going to entice people off of TFT to actually buy my essences, since they'll be making such a big profit. That'll be worth their time to come get half a div worth of essences. Tomorrow, I'm planning to farm for a few hours. And hopefully with a few hours of essences, I'll have, 10-ish div worth of essences to sell at once. At that point, I should be able to sell a 90, 95, or even 100 and get the full value of my essences. My next big upgrade is actually saving a divine, since I did say the way I want to unlock my watch zone is by basically paying a divine per watch zone. My goal is going to be getting a watch zone, and then with one watch zone, I'm going to be able to apply compasses to this, and I'm going to go buy elevated essence compasses. What these do is they put 2 guaranteed essences per map, so I'll have at least 3. I'll have chance for additional essences in my maps, so I can eventually see 4 and maybe 5 per map, but effectively having one watch zone is going to triple the amount of money I'm making per map. So this is a worthwhile investment of 1 div to get this. I believe the compass is around 70 to 80 chaos, which is more than worth it for 16 maps, as we'll be making more than enough money. I think we make back the 80 chaos in maybe 10 maps or so. So the last 6 maps are pure profit from the extra essences. And then with that, I'm hoping to upgrade my gear and then have really comfy tier 16 farming and have a really comfy time doing blights in maps, as well as more essences. So I'm going to be keeping the essences for quite a while. In terms of how I'm sustaining my maps, I'm not. Currently, mausoleums are selling for about 1C each, so I'm just spam buying them. The reason I'm doing these is strands are currently 3 chaos each, and I like the layout of mausoleum enough. I'm not bothering to kill the boss. I'm simply just walking in, finding my essences, and immediately just walking out. And I'd rather pay 1 chaos per map than 3 chaos per strands when both the layouts are more than fine, and 3C per map would kind of be cutting into my profits a little bit too much. That's about it for today. As I said, tomorrow I'm going to keep doing essences. I'm hoping to make about 20 div tomorrow. And by the end of tomorrow, I'm hoping I'll have enough gear to start doing some blade farming. And then we'll continue blade farming into day 4. Past that, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I think I'm going to eventually incorporate altar farming into it and maybe even some delirium orbs or something and drop blades. We'll see. We'll just kind of make it up as we go. In terms of upgrades, I don't know exactly what I want other than to get Perma Berserk set up, but that'll be something to figure out for day 3. Again, I want to say I appreciate all the support you guys have been showing in the series. It's been very, very amazing so far. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. It seems like a lot of people are liking watching me do this from scratch. As I said, I want to do a quick map to showcase how all this looks. So why don't we quickly run through a map and just see how this build plays out. As I mentioned, you're also going to see the ridiculously fast saviors just absolutely murder everything. So we just need to kill like 1 or 2 monsters. As soon as we kill 1 or 2, our blasts are going, and then we basically just run around super, super quick. I only need to channel Cyclone for like a few seconds to kill whatever I want to kill. And even if I don't like fully kill it, my saviors behind me will like finish everything off, which is kind of nice to do. In terms of speed, I know this is not the fastest thing ever, but considering how fast we were at the start of today, this is really good. And I do want to make it even faster. Eventually, I want to fit in a haste in here, and eventually I want to fit a Devoto's Devotion and just find more ways to add as much movement speed as I can. In terms of essences, we pretty much like kill them instantly, especially if my saviors stack up on top of me. And I can like rush to these maps really quickly. This was what, maybe a 40-second map or so? Like we're almost done with it. And for all this effort, I think I just made like 4 or 5 chaos. I'm currently holding about div an hour, which will free div an hour as soon as I can get my compass. But I hope that was a pretty nice showcase. All of the maps are really fast. It's nice just being able to hold down Cyclone because only having to press it for maybe half a second to kill a pack and then being able to run around with like my full movement speed for my Flask makes all these maps substantially faster than if I was just running around like this the whole time. Even like this with just my Quicksilver, I'm decently fast. I don't have any more mass, I can't show it, but I'm decently fast. So no matter what, I'm very happy with how my movement speed feels. That's it for today. I hope you guys will join me on Twitch for day 3. And if not, I hope to see you guys in the recap for day 3 tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.